Hello guys. How are you? I hope you all are doing fine. And in the previous chapter, we discussed about, I gave you the introduction of general equilibrium, and we discussed about some of their assumption, and we differentiated between partial equilibrium and general equilibrium. Also, I told you their steps, how do we get through to the general equilibrium condition, and at last we discussed one of its step, that is equilibrium in production. Okay, so till now we have done. So now today we are going to start with equilibrium in consumption. So guys, uh, if you if you have taken my previous class, we have done till production. Okay, so now goods have been produced. So now what will they do of goods in the economy? So now they will go for the consumption. So that's why the second part is equilibrium in consumption. Okay. Okay. So now goods are available in the economy now. Okay. So a consumer will be in equilibrium when he maximizes his satisfaction by fulfilling the condition of MRS is equal to Px upon Py, or you can say the slope of indifference curve is equal to the slope of budget line. This was basic. Okay. So as I already told you then, that in the production you get the general equilibrium by this condition, that MRTS of good X is equal to MRTX of good Y is equal to W by R, that is, this is price of labor wages and this is price of capital interest or rent. Okay, so it's similar to this in equilibrium also. Okay, so in equilibrium what will it be now? MRS of A should be MRS of B, right? So in the production we have done about two goods and two factors. Here two factors and X and Y are two good. Now we come to the consumer. So we assumed earlier that there are two consumer, A and B, and there are different ICs of A and ICs of B, different satisfaction level. Okay, so that's why we have taken here A and B. Here X and Y is equal to two factors, that is labor and capital. Okay guys, so this was the condition of equilibrium in consumption. There is nothing much to go deep into it. You just remember this condition. So now we will see the Edgeworth box. We have already done the Edgeworth box in production. Now we will see the Edgeworth box in the consumption. It is similar to that only which we discussed in the production. Just in the production the condition was this and there was isoquants, but now as the goods has been produced now, so now this is the contract curve. I am already drawing the contract curve. It will be similar. Pareto efficient condition will be fulfilled when slope of these two are equal. So okay, I'll first draw of one person only. Let's consider it A, and this is B, it's already given, and good Y, good X. Similarly, if you see from here, it will be Y, it will be X. Okay, so there will be different ICs for of A which represent different satisfaction level, and corresponding to that there will be ICs for B which will be representing different satisfaction level. So it will be like this. So these are the point where MRS of A is equal to MRS of B, right? So when you join these points, you get the contract curve. Earlier the contract curve was this, now the contract curve is this. It's just the locus of the point where these two this condition met. Okay. So let's assume that it provide A1 level of satisfaction. It's A2, it's A3, similarly A4. And if I go from here, it will be B1, it will be B2, B3 and B4. Here A4. Okay. So this is the Edgeworth box in case of consumption. And all the things remain same, like if there is a lens occurring, then it is not a Pareto efficient. Otherwise all everything remains same. Just here ICs will come, and in the earlier part there were isocons. Okay guys, so now we will discuss our third part, which is simultaneous equilibrium. We have done equilibrium in consumption, and in before we have done equilibrium in production. Now we will combine these both and we will attain our simultaneous equilibrium, because these are the three conditions for being a Pareto efficient. We have already studied this. Now we will do the simultaneous equilibrium. We have equilibrium in consumption and in the production, so now we will combine them both. So I'll draw here good x, sorry, good x and good y. Okay, now I will draw the PPC, which we drawn again when we were doing the equilibrium for production. Here is the line tangent where the condition is MRT is equal to Px upon Py. That is, we have earlier discussed also this. That is, slope of PPC is equal to mcx upon mcy. So when we did this, we got our equilibrium quantity as xc and ye, right? So what I will do now, you are seeing this box, I will take out this box and substitute it here. So we already know the quantity which has already been produced, the maximum quantity. Okay, so this is the maximum quantity is produced. If you see here, it will be the maximum quantity produced. So this is xc and this will become y. Okay, okay, so this is clear. So now I will again draw the contract curve and will make the same thing. I will make different ICs for A. Similarly, I will make the, here it's OB and here it's OA. Okay, and similarly for B also I will make different ICs. So here it is. Okay, so now the equilibrium will come at which level, where the slope of budget line will be equal to MRSA is equal to MRSB. So let's say that this is the your budget line. So you can easily see now that this point, this is the equilibrium point, because slope of slope of ICB is equal to slope of ICA is equal to the slope of budget line, which we have considered this. Okay. So corresponding to this equilibrium, you will get this quantity of A, let's name it as XA, and this quantity for YA, the quantity of Y which A is consuming. Okay. Similarly, the maximum quantity produced is XC. So what is this gap? This gap XC minus XA will be what? It will be consumed by B. Okay, because there is simultaneous equilibrium if you see. So this will be the point where he will be consuming from here to here. B will be consuming Y, and similarly if you go from here to here, he will be consuming X. So this is XB. Okay, and similarly if you take here Y minus YA, that is YB. So this is our simultaneous equilibrium diagram, and we are done with the general equilibrium. We have discussed all the basic which was required for the numerical. Further we will do more numerical, and I will introduce the concept of net demand, gross demand and endowment and everything, which you already know, but in the numerical it is, things are different. Okay, but your theory will remain same, your concept will remain same, and you have to just modify it according to the numericals. Okay guys, so let's come on to the exchange. Okay, so now it's a numerical part basically. So let us consider one example. Okay, so I'll start with the Edgeworth box only. So here it is OB, here it is OA, and I am taking this as, this point as 30 and this point as 35. Okay, and this is x2, this is x1, this axis is for x1, this axis is for x2. Okay, and similarly different for the B. Here it will be x1 and here it will be x2. Okay guys, so let's move on now. Now what we have to do is that we have to mark the endowment now, that what they are already having endowment. Okay, which we have learned in semester 3 also in detail. So let's mark this point as endowment. So let's take it as 20. This will be given in the question. It is 25 and it is 10. You can also subtract 30 from 20, so you will get 10. Similarly here 35 minus 25, that is 10. So this is W2A, this is W1A, right? Endowment of x2 present with A, endowment of x1 present with A. This is W2B, endowment of x2 with B, and similarly this is W1B. Okay, so now till here our game is like this. We can mark this as endowment. Okay, I'm writing it down also that we are taking the goods rise in weight. So x1 is equal to 30, x2 is equal to 35. This is the total production. Okay, here you can see total. So this is the total one. Okay, so now what we will do, we will make some changes. Okay, we will draw the budget line and we will mark their equilibrium quantities. Okay, so let me redraw the diagram now again. Okay, so we marked our endowment here. I could have just shown you in this one also, but it was small. It would become messy, so I am taking the other one. Okay, so I'm not marking much thing now. I'm just marking the basics. This is OB, this is OA. Diagram is same, I'm just copying it down, but I will introduce the budget line and IC here. Okay, so you already know that budget line will always pass through the endowment. So I am passing the budget line through the endowment. Randomly I am taking any budget line, and let's say their equilibrium come at this point. Okay, so this will be your ICA and this will be your ICB, right? If you mark their simultaneous quantities, equilibrium quantities, I am considering it was 10 earlier, so it will be x1 of B, right, which is the equilibrium quantity of x1 with B, which B will going to purchase or sell, we will see afterwards. It will depend upon the excess supply and excess demand. Similarly it will be x2B, and here if I take, this was 10 earlier, so here I take x2A, and we left this one, that is x1A. Okay guys, okay, so now our diagram is complete. So now we will calculate, we will see whether A is a seller or buyer, or whether B is a seller or buyer. This we will get through from the net demand. And how do we calculate the net demand? We calculate the equilibrium quantity, we subtract the endowment with the equilibrium quantity. So if the equilibrium quantity come to be, the net demand come to be negative, so that means he is a seller, otherwise he is a buyer. Okay, also if I tell you from the diagram, if you take any point, if I am taking x1 here, is the equilibrium quantity of x1 with of A, Okay, so you can see X1 already have 20 units, and he is purchasing, let's say, X1 we are taking it as 15 or 10, or it's less than 20. You have to, you just see that it is less than 20, right? So what he was already having, he was consuming now, after equilibrium, after doing this budget line and matching the slope, he is getting quantity less than he was actually having. Okay, so what does it mean? Where does this quantity go? He must have sold that quantity, right? So that means if the quantity has decreased, that means it also means that net demand is negative. So he is the seller of good one. Okay, seller of good one. Similarly, if I show you from net demand from here, we denote the net demand by E. So E1A will be X1A minus W1A. This is your W1A, right? So X1 minus W1A, what will it be? It will be negative, and this implies that this is this, he is the seller of good one. He is the seller of good one. Similarly, if you see from here, he already have 25, but he is consuming now less than 25. So the remaining quantity he must have sold it. So the E1 of E2 of V, this is E2 of V, X2B minus W2B, which is also negative, so seller. And the next two will be always buyer, because the summation of net demand should be equal to 0 for the equilibrium to exist. Okay, clearly you can see also from here, he was already having 10 units of X2, but now he is consuming more than 10, so he must have bought that extra unit, so he is the buyer for good 2. Similarly, if you see from here, he's again the buyer, he is the buyer of good 1. So if you can write the market demand, market for good 1 is in equilibrium when x1a plus x1b is equal to w1a plus w1b. Okay, so this will be the condition for the market for x1 to be in equilibrium. Okay, similarly, if you see from x2 point of view, you will get x2a plus x2b is equal to w2a plus w2b, and it is obvious also we cannot trade more than we are having. Okay, we will trade only till here only, and our equilibrium is coming in between this only, so the summation will be equal to the endowment only. Okay guys, so in this case we have seen that the equilibrium condition is fulfilled, that is MRS A is equal to MRS B is equal to slope of budget line. Okay, but if this condition is not fulfilled, then what will happen and what will be the adjustment in the economy? So now we will see that. So now I have already drawn the diagram for you. So but in this diagram there won't be efficiency, and we will see how the market will clear off. Okay, so this is the budget line. Let's say MRS is this is falling here, ICB, and this is falling here, ICA. So any arbitrary prices P1 upon P2, it is not necessary that there will be an equilibrium in the market. That is what we are going to know about now. Okay, so now if you see that corresponding to this, what are the quantities? Let's mark it as x1a and here x2a. Similarly, if we take for B, it will come as x2b, here x1b. Okay guys, so if you see that, if you see here, you will see that supply of x1 is greater than demand of x1. Wait, I'll show you in the diagram also. And when this happens, when supply is greater than demand, what happened usually? Your price is falls, right? So P1 will fall. So now if we see from the diagram also, so this is the supply of x1, right? In this case, and this area is the demand for x1, right? Since in this case he's a buyer of x1 and in this case he's a seller, so if you compare both these two, you will see that the supply of x1, the seller is selling more than what the buyer is purchasing, right? So you can see that the supply of x1 is more than the demand for x1. You can see the extent from here also. So what happens when the supply is greater than demand? Usually price falls, and this is what will happen. Similarly, if you see for x2, so you can see that demand for x2 is greater than the supply for x2. This implies that P2 will rise. Okay, so what does it means? It means that P1 upon P2. So now here P1 has fall, P2 has rise. Okay. So what does it imply? The denominator is increasing, that decreases the ratio, and the numerator is decreasing, that also decreases the ratio. So the ratio will be decreased. So now what is this? This is the slope of budget line. So now slope of budget line has decreased. This means it has become more, it will become more flatter. Okay, and this process will go on, it will become flatter. It is like this, it will go on like this, and this process will go on until the market market for good one is in equilibrium. Similarly for the good two also, the condition I already told you, that x1a plus x2b is equal to w1a is equal to w1b. Okay, this mechanism will go on, and it will go on till we achieve this x2a plus x2b is equal to w2a plus w2b. Okay, so this was till the theory, practical part is now kind of over. So now if I tell you all this and summarize the detail, so let's start it. So in general equilibrium analysis, demand and supply condition interacts in several market to determine price of many goods. Okay, we are taking two goods here. To explain equilibrium of exchange, we make use of Edgeworth box. Depend on the endowment of good, and allocation will be feasible if total amount of each good is consumed to the total amount of each goods available. That is this condition he is talking about. Okay, so consumer have initial endowment, which is an allocation available to consumer when trade is free. Okay, they have some endowment in the starting, that is we have already mentioned W1A, W2B. These were the endowment, and we mark it from W only. Okay, so they will exchange some of these goods with each other to end up at final allocation. That is what they are doing by equating the MRSA and MRSB. We have seen through different ICs also. So an allocation will be Pareto efficient under the following situation. There are following situation under which you can achieve the Pareto efficient condition. So first situation is that there is no way to make all people involved better off. I cannot make better off both the people. There has to be one person who will be worse off and one will be better off, because there is always trade-off in the economy. So I cannot make both the person better off. Okay. And second thing is that there is no way to make some individual better off without making someone else worse off. Okay. This was the just uh, extension only of the first. Okay, I have already told you. So all gains from trade have been exhausted, so that there are no mutually advantageous gain to be made. This process happen and all this happen. So for any arbitrary prices P1 upon P2, it is not necessary that there will be an equilibrium in the market. We have seen in this case also. In other words, there is no guarantee that demand will be equal to supply. As shown in this figure, there is excess supply for good 1 and excess demand for good 2. As a result, market price of good 1 will fall and market price for good 2 will rise. Okay, this will shift the budget line. This will make the budget line flatter, and the change in prices will continue so that both the market get cleared, and such situation is known as market equilibrium or competitive equilibrium, or you can say Walras equilibrium. So such situation is known as market equilibrium or competitive equilibrium or Walras equilibrium. So for today we will do till here only. In the next class we will start Walras law and first and second laws also. Okay, so thank you for watching guys. Mention your doubts in the comment section. I will be happy to help you. Okay guys, bye bye, take care.